Friends. Well, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi plans to penalize Americans for not buying health insurance. But is that even constitutional? And can Americans afford subsidies right now? Time for a fair and balanced debate this morning. David Rivkin is a constitutional attorney, and Michael Seidman is a Georgetown University Law Center professor. Good morning to both of you, and welcome.
Good to be with you.
Michael, let me start with you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Michael, let me start with you. Is this constitutional?
Well, there are 75 years of Supreme Court precedent that say that the government can regulate things that are related to national markets. And I have to say, it's a little surprising to hear people like Mr. Rivkin making this argument. I had thought conservatives had a principled position against judicial activism. And what Mr. Rivkin is asking 5 or 6 Republican members of the Supreme Court to do is to upset the considered judgment of the people on what has to be very, very flimsy constitutional grounds.
David, you think this? Do you think this is unconstitutional? What's your position on this? And I'll let you respond.
It is unconstitutional. First, having the Supreme Court strike down on unconstitutional legislation is entirely appropriate conservative idea. The whole point of a constitution is putting limits on majoritarian rule. But fundamentally, it's this. The federal government, it was envisioned by the framers to be the government of limited and enumerated powers. States have police powers. States can regulate broader and deeper than can the federal government. Michael is correct that the Supreme Court for 70-plus years have upheld almost every, but not all, but almost every effort by Congress to regulate under the Commerce Clause. But it was because Congress never intended to do something like this. We're talking about regulating individual behavior, not economic activities, not even activities of any kind. It's you making an individual decision. I don't want to buy insurance. I don't want to buy a health club membership. I don't want to buy a car. If Congress can regulate these activities, Congress can regulate everything except for things that are barred by the Bill of Rights. The entire constitutional architecture is warped. The federal government becomes the government of general police powers, and that is not going to happen.
And Michael, the government already requires men under the age of 18 to sign up for the selective service to serve their country. Why is this part of that? Why isn't this part of that process?
Well, that's right. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, no, go ahead, Michael.
No,
sorry.
That's right. The government, the government requires us to buy car insurance. It requires us to engage in the Social Security, to buy Social Security insurance, essentially. And, Mr. Rivkin points to lots of extreme hypotheticals. There are lots of very stupid things that are not unconstitutional. Tomorrow.
We can't get to all of them right now. Unfortunately, we're up against a hard break. David Rivkin, Michael Seidman, we appreciate you both for joining us this morning. We'll have to continue this conversation another time. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for inviting me.
More Fox and Friends when we return.